Today I'm going to be reviewing the second episode of the 10th season of Smallville. First of all, just a big thank you. I got a lot of positive feedback from my review last week. This episode was kind of discombobulated. It was kind of everywhere, and you guys know that I have a problem with episodes where characters are just everywhere, and I realize how TV works and they can't always be in the same place, but bring on the filler episodes, because that's what this was for me. And this is a time of the season where they're going to start pouring out. Supernaturals was too, so I can't be complaining. We can't always have these giant climactic big episodes, even though the 200th is coming up, so I'm really excited for that. So the first man reference that really stood out to me in this episode was one, the statue that Hawkman, welcome back BT Dub, was holding. Was the statue, it was an exact replica of the one from Crusade. I didn't look, I'm not sure if it has, I doubt it has Kryptonian on the back of it, but I went back and I rewatched some of Crusade just to make sure, and yeah, that was the exact statue that the first stone was in, that Lex found in the second scene of season 4. Also, let's talk about the giant elephant in the room. Lois Lane actually says the word Superman. This is not the first time on the show that we've heard that word, and I actually love, I'm going to take you back here to the very first episode of Smallville. Do you guys remember when Clark first talked to Lana ever, when she was wearing the necklace and he tripped and he fell and he dropped Nietzsche, and Nietzsche's come up I think one other time in the series, and I always love that reference because Nietzsche was the one who kind of coined the term Ubermensch, which means Superman. And the first episode ever of Smallville, Lana says, "What are you, Clark Man or Superman?" And that is, like, to me, one of the biggest quotes that I remember. I love that they kind of brought that back, and it's so funny to watch the pilot, and then I'm trying to watch this in the corner, like comparing episodes to see how far we've come. So Lois said Superman, and Hawkman kind of gave her the thing, and you know, she's coined the terms for like the Green Arrow and stuff, so hopefully when Clark does become Superman, because we're tiptoeing around it every other freaking episode. Deadshot was there, who was in DC Comics, and so was Plastique. We've seen her in a few episodes before. The Suicide Squad, I'm not a huge fan of them, so every time they kind of mention it, I'm like, whoopee. But their presence was known in the episode. First of all, Lois and Hawkman, that was a good dynamic for me. I like changing it up, and even though they were in Africa, I like the dynamic. I also was a little bit taken aback when Hawkman was like, "Oh, so you know Clark's secret," or whatever he said, and I'm like, oh man, now everybody's gonna know Lois knows but Clark, and then it's just gonna be weird, and it's like, I want them to hurry up and tell Clark, you know, his secret, but this is the final season, so my patience has to really, I gotta pull myself back. I have to be super, super patient because we have to wait and see how it's gonna play out. Well, let's talk about Cat Grant. I am not a huge fan of bringing Cat Grant onto the show. Not so late in the game, because she's not a very prevalent character in the comics, but I'm not a huge fan of, from what I've read of her character in the comics, of bringing her in the last season as a placeholder for Lois, who's in Africa. I know we have to give Clark, it only makes sense we would bring her in, because Clark has to have another dynamic there. I'm glad they mentioned her kid, who's also in the comics, just to make sure that was the Cat Grant, because, you know, we've played this with Smallville before, where characters aren't really characters who we think they are. And yes, season 8, I'm talking about you, Jimmy Olsen. Let's get to Chloe. We find out that she swallowed a cyanide pill, and for those of you who don't know, remember that scene in Watchmen with the cyanide pill? That's what a cyanide pill does. That was my science lesson to you for the day. Oh, and then she really faked her own death, and, you know, she just wants to be, kind of get away from it all, and, if I didn't know that Allison Mack was just only coming on for like 4 episodes, I'd be like, oh my god, this is so not like her character to just run off. But Allison Mack is, you know, she'll come back, and so that was a good way to keep her on the back burner, and Clark was like, I respect that. And I'm finally happy that Clark respects something Chloe said. But the ending shot was okay for me. Like, don't get mad at me. You guys are like, she didn't like this episode at all. No, I'm still all for Smallville. I love it. There's just some things as a dedicated fan I don't like. And Clark has a new outfit because Cat Grant gave him the idea for red and blue. Oh, I'm just so tired of this constant tiptoe around the costume. I know it's the last season, and we gotta wait at least 20 more episodes before we're gonna see that costume. But it was a good way to end the episode. It's kind of tying in the whole theme of the season, and I love that, especially for a filler episode to do that. So that's my review. I hope you guys liked it. Please subscribe, rate, and please leave your comments below. I love reading your guys' comments, so please leave your feedback below, and I'll see you next week. Bye.